We woodworkers love a good, strong joint. We spend hours cutting dovetails. We fuss over the fit of a mortise and tenon. We believe that a tight fit is a strong fit. But what if I told you that the strongest joint isn't the one that fits perfectly from the start? What if the secret to a joint that will outlast you, your children, and maybe even your children's children, is a little bit of breathing room? It sounds wrong, I know. It goes against everything we are taught. We are told to aim for a fit so tight you need a mallet to persuade it home. But sometimes, the old ways are not the only ways. Sometimes, a little bit of space is the key to creating something that will truly endure. Think about it. We strive for perfection in our joinery. We want crisp lines and seamless connections. We want to show off our skill. That is a noble goal. It is the heart of good craftsmanship. But this pursuit of a perfect, friction-fit joint can sometimes create its own weakness. When wood expands and contracts with the seasons, a joint that is too tight can be put under immense stress. It can fight against itself, year after year. This constant battle can lead to cracks, to failure, and to a wobbly table leg when you least expect it. True strength is not about rigidity. It is about working with the wood, not against it. The idea I want to share with you today is a trick, but it is more than just a trick. It is a fundamental shift in how you think about bringing two pieces of wood together. It is a technique that creates both incredible strength and a beautiful, subtle detail. It relies on a principle that is both ancient and surprisingly modern. It introduces a small, intentional imperfection that unlocks a level of mechanical strength you simply cannot get from a standard joint. It turns a simple connection into a self-tightening, resilient piece of engineering that honors the living nature of the wood we so dearly love to work with. This is not some complex method that requires a shop full of expensive machinery. You do not need a CNC router or a laser cutter. You just need the tools you already have: a good handsaw, a sharp chisel, a mallet, and most importantly, an open mind. You need to be willing to look at that familiar mortise and tenon joint and see it in a new light. You need to trust that a small change, a simple cut, can transform its very nature. This is a technique for every woodworker, from the seasoned pro to the weekend hobbyist looking to make their first bookshelf a little more special. This concept is not entirely new. If you look closely at the timber frame barns that have stood for centuries, you will see the evidence. Or look at the great wooden temples of Japan, which have survived earthquakes and typhoons for 1,000 years. How did they do it? They understood that wood is a living material. They knew it would move. Instead of fighting that movement, they designed joints that could accommodate it. They used wedges, pins, and clever interlocking shapes that would tighten under load. They built in a small amount of flexibility, which allowed these massive structures to absorb stress and distribute it safely through the entire frame. The science behind this is wonderfully simple. It is about spreading out the force. In a standard, tight-fitting joint, stress is concentrated at the corners and shoulders. It is a very rigid connection. But by introducing what I call the kerf-bent tenon, you create a sort of internal spring. You make a few simple saw cuts, the kerfs, in the tenon itself. When you drive a small wedge into these kerfs during assembly, the tenon expands. It pushes outwards against the walls of the mortise with incredible, evenly distributed pressure. It is no longer just friction holding it together, it is mechanical force. This method transforms the joint from a passive connection into an active one. A normal joint just sits there. It relies on the friction of its surfaces and the strength of the glue to hold on. The kerf-bent tenon, however, is always working. The wedged tenon is constantly pushing outwards, creating a lock that is far stronger and more resilient to the wood's natural movement over time. It is like the difference between leaning against a wall and actively bracing yourself against it. One is passive, the other is a dynamic act of strength. This is what gives the joint its incredible longevity and holding power. You are essentially building a mechanical advantage right into the heart of your woodworking. It is the same principle that allows a small wedge to split a giant log. You are applying a small amount of force to the wedge, and it is multiplying that force to create immense pressure inside the joint. This is not just about glue anymore. The glue becomes a secondary line of defense. The primary strength comes from this beautiful, simple piece of engineering. You are creating a piece of furniture that is not just stuck together, but is actively holding itself together from the inside out, day after day, year after year. Let's walk through this on a basic mortise and tenon joint. First, cut your joint as you normally would, but with one small change. Make the mortise just a tiny bit oversized. I am talking about a slip fit, not a sloppy fit. The tenon should slide in and out easily without any force. This is where most people feel nervous. It feels wrong. Trust the process. Your goal here is not friction. Your goal is to create a perfect cavity for the tenon to expand into. This initial loose fit is the secret that makes the whole thing work, so embrace the feeling of it being just a little bit off. Now, take your tenon. With a fine-toothed handsaw, like a Japanese dozuki or a dovetail saw, make 2 or 3 cuts along the length of the tenon. Stop the cuts just before you reach the shoulder. These are your kerfs. They should be parallel to the wide faces of the tenon. You have now created flexible fingers within the tenon. Next, you will need some small wedges. Cut these from a piece of hardwood, making them slightly wider than the thickness of your tenon. The taper should be very gradual. You are not trying to split the wood, just gently spread it. A shallow angle is your friend here. Now for the magic. Apply a thin layer of glue inside your mortise and on the faces of the tenon. Slide the tenon into the mortise. It will feel loose, and that is okay. Then, take your small wedges and gently tap one into each saw kerf. As the wedges go in, you will feel the joint tighten. You will see the seam at the shoulder pull itself perfectly closed. The tenon is expanding, pressing itself against the walls of the mortise with immense force. Drive the wedges until they are snug, then trim them flush with a saw or chisel. The most common mistake is making the initial fit too tight. If the tenon is already snug, there is no room for it to expand when you drive the wedges. This can put too much stress on the mortise and potentially crack the wood. The solution is simple. Trust in the slip fit. Another error is cutting the wedges too steep. A steep wedge will not spread the force evenly, and can bottom out too quickly. Remember, a gentle, gradual taper is what you want. This ensures the pressure is applied slowly and evenly along the entire length of the joint, creating that perfect locked-in strength. This simple idea is not just for mortise and tenons. You can adapt it for so many other joints. Imagine using it on a through dovetail. By making a kerf in the tail and tapping in a wedge from the outside, you can lock it into the pin board with incredible force, creating a joint that is both a structural and decorative element. You can use it on bridle joints for table legs, or on the lap joints used in frame construction. The principle is the same. Create a small amount of space, and then use a wedge to expand the wood and fill that space with mechanical pressure. It works for big projects and small ones. I have seen this technique completely transform finished pieces. A friend of mine, a wonderful chairmaker named Laura, started using it for the legs of her stools. She said, "I used to worry about those joints working loose over time, especially on something that gets as much use as a stool. Now, with the wedge tenons, they feel absolutely bomb-proof. And the exposed ends of the wedges add this beautiful, handcrafted detail. It tells a story. The finished pieces do not just look stronger, they feel stronger. The subtle detail of the wedge speaks of a deeper level of craftsmanship, so I invite you to try this. The next time you are in your shop, grab a couple of scrap pieces of wood. Cut a simple mortise and tenon, but this time, cut it loose. Cut the kerfs. Make a few small wedges. Put it together and feel the way it locks up. Feel that satisfying, solid connection you created. It is a wonderful moment when you realize you have unlocked a new level of strength with just a saw and a bit of know-how. Share your results with others. Post a picture online. Tell a friend. The best part of woodworking is sharing what we learned. This is just the beginning. Once you master this idea of using wedges to create internal pressure, you will start seeing opportunities everywhere. It will open up new design possibilities and give you the confidence to build things that are meant to last for generations. Join a local woodworking guild or an online forum. There's a whole community of folks out there who love to talk about this stuff, sharing tips and inspiring each other. A simple trick like this is a gateway. It leads to more advanced techniques and a deeper understanding of the material we all love. Now, go. Make some sawdust.